Hi, welcome back to Logic. My name is Tom. I'm your instructor. To kick off this course, we should ask, of course, the question, what is logic? It's a big question. Lots of things answer to the term logic. We often use the term logic, someone being logical, to talk about whether or not their reasoning is good or not, right? Whether or not someone is thinking well. Um, but in philosophy, logic typically refers to formal languages, formal logical languages. Um, and the way that usually works is that our sentences in what they call natural language, things like English and Spanish and French, are translated into formal symbolic languages. This will be a large part of what we do in this course. We will be learning some of the basics of one logical language that's usually referred to as propositional logic. Okay, um, and we'll talk a lot more about that. Now, the videos and handout for this module motivate our course by considering how logic, I think, is more than just merely formal languages. It's not just a formal concern. Um, First thing to mention here is that there's good reason to think that logic doesn't only have to do with the way we think, right? Um, for the simple fact that when we're thinking well, we tend to think that someone is understanding the world the way it is, right? And the way those things match up, thought and reality, is because we tend to think that reality has a certain logical structure to it, right? And some examples of this are, and some of these I mentioned in the handout, we don't think we're going to find a four-sided triangle out in the world, right? We don't think that we're going to discover that 2 and 2 is actually 5, or that rain is dry, or these kinds of things. These are examples where we think that reality has some of the same constraints that our thinking does, right? And that these limits kind of coincide, right? So that's just to say that logic, extends beyond our thinking, and that our thinking is about the world. And if our thinking is logical, we tend to think that the object of thought is also logical in a certain way, right? Um, Now, there's a further point I want to make here about motivating the study of logic. And another reason to think logic is important. Um, if we are rational animals, as Aristotle tells us we are, right? Then, honing our rational skills, our reasoning, would seem to make us better people or make it easier for us to get around in the world. Um, our reasoning, being better at reasoning, should make us better at doing what we want to do, attaining our goals, relating to the world and to other people, right? Another way to put this is to think that, truth, the truth that we try to attain through reasoning, is something that is a fundamental value for us, right? It's a value to us in our education, in our journalism, in our politics, and so on and so forth. Even for, very pragmatic things, we want to know, the truth about something. And our reasoning is kind of indispensable to being able to grasp the truth, right? So, um, in order to kind of emphasize the practical usefulness of logic, we'll do a number of things that will involve the application of logical rules in this logic course. Um, we'll consider some ways to challenge the validity of these rules and consider some different psychological obstacles to reasoning. That's all kind of applied logic in a certain sense. but also, the biggest application will be the persuasive paper that we do, where we kind of get into, you'll choose your own topic, and get into a particular issues and really look at both sides and look at some different angles, consider the best argument you can make for the position that you want to hold, and kind of really use the tools that you learn in this course to think critically about an issue. Okay, so logic is a big subject. We'll take a little bite of it moving forward, and we'll learn a bunch of different principles of reasoning, and hopefully this will prove useful in many areas of your life and your education moving forward. So that's it for this week, and I will see you next week.